that I will be introducing this subject. I might be a little biased, but I think he and Mom have done a pretty good job. I think that he'll have a lot of valuable insight to share. I think the most important thing that he'll share with you is to be as supportive and open with your kids as you can. I know I speak on behalf of my sister Misty, who's in DC and can't be with us today, when I say that Mom and Dad have always made us feel incredibly supported, both at home but also out in the world, to explore our interests and figure out how we wanted to make our mark in the United States and how we want to make our mark in our Gurdwara community, but also beyond our Gurdwara community and in our Atlanta community and in the world community. I think my dad's going to give you some parental perspective, but to just give you a little bit of perspective from a kid who was raised in Atlanta, went to elementary, middle school, high school, University of Georgia, go Dogs. I think that you should just know that your kids want to share with you. They want to tell you about their lives. They want to tell you about school and their friends and what's going on and what they're interested in. And if you will just listen with an open mind and an open heart, I think that, just remember, your kids want to talk to you. So listen, because they have a lot of interesting things to tell you. And I think that you'll be able to grow your relationship that way. So I'll now introduce my dad. You know him as a SEWA. I know him as my dad, Dr. Jagjeet Singh Sidhu. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
But I will do my best. Like Lena said, I came here almost little more than 40 years ago. Went to school here, lived in Washington, D.C., Boston, and last almost 22 years we have been fortunate to be in Atlanta, and I have seen the community grow from not having any gurdwaras to having 4 gurdwaras. So so I have a lot of history. When they told me that I should share my thoughts about, so what I wanted to focus on something. Otherwise, I can go on here for hours. And so what I picked is that we all have raised children, or are we gonna raise children? Some who are newly married. So I thought that's a good topic to have. And so we will, again, just bear with me that this is just how I can share with you that how we raised our kids. That doesn't mean that's the only way. And like a parent, it's you learn on the job training. And so it's, if there is anything you like, you can take it home with, or you can talk to us after the langar. But don't think that what we did is the right way or is the only way. So with that thing in mind, let's start with once you marry, you have a kid. So you may think it's why I'm bringing this up. Naming the child, I think it's very important. And it's the kid can tell you at that time, but when they grow up, some people, they don't like their name, but that's too late. So it's so give quite a bit thought into naming the child. It's again, living in the United States or in the Western world, it should be a little bit easier for them also. So it's an issue that you shouldn't take it lightly, and I can tell you from experience that you may laugh at it. My parents named me something different. My name was Jagjeet Singh, and I was like 4 years old, and I didn't like the name. And the reason was, I think at my dad's office there was a guy whose name was the same. And I told I don't want that name. And so I think they asked me about this, Jagjeet, and I said, yeah, that's. And I don't know how I did it, but that was something at 4-year-old, I think. And so we named our daughters. One is Loveleen, we call her Lena. Other one is, we call her Misty, her name is Manmeet. but she doesn't like Manmeet. She thinks that's a boy's name. But she loves Misty, and we had a friend in Canada. Someday he called, and Misty picked up the phone, and he was a Bujurg, like in his 60s. He said, "Beta, toda naam ki hai?" She said, "Uncle Misty." He ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਨਵਾਂ ਜਿਹਾ ਹੀ ਨਾਮ ਆ ਕੋਈ। She said, "ਨਹੀਂ ਜੀ ਮੇਰਾ ਨਾਮ ਮਨਮੀਤ ਹੈ।" ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਹਾਂ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਗੱਲ ਹੋਈ ਨਾ ਜਾਣੇ। So it is kind of it is important, and sometimes you don't think, but in school your name may be distorted, so just think about that. That's kind of important. You can always change later on, but it's if you start on a right footing, it will be good. So now let's say now the kid has like a preschool or going to kindergarten. What we decided, I mean, my wife, she was working at that time before we had Lena, and she had a pretty good job, and it was very tough on her to leave the job because they will keep calling her that is she coming back. But we decided that it is worth for her to stay full time at home, and at that time she wasn't sure. She will say, "Don't you think I should go to work back?" And we kind of finally said no, she will. And 20 years later she said that is the best decision that she made, that she stayed home with them. When the younger one went to college, that's when she went back to work. So it worked for us. And but again, if you want to have that value system, somebody else raising your kid can make difference. But what we did, I think we are glad we did that way. And also, it's when the kid comes home, mom is home or dad is home, I think it does make a difference. One time Lena came from preschool, and she comes and she goes in her room with other friends and plays, and Rani said, "Lena, when you come from school, you don't stay with me, you just go to your room and play with your friend." She said, "Mom, but I know you are downstairs." So she had that security that if she needs it, she's there. But again, in some cases it may not be possible, but sometimes you have to make those hard choices, and at that time you may not appreciate, but later on you think that is the best thing. And that way actually, next, now you are a preteen. Here actually I wrote down like, now growing up time for parents. Before you tell the kid, they listen, but here they start to question pretty much, and you should have some good answers for their questions. And one thing we learned was that saying parents have to stick together. It is very important because kids would like to get a yes from one and kind of play one against the other. But we had that if mom says no, then if they come to dad, it's a no. Same thing, if I said no, then she can. So I think the kids had very tough time with that one. They said, they always stick together. And I think it's something. And sometimes it becomes a little bit problem if the grandparents are with you, then they can go to the grandparents. And so, but again, there are advantages, disadvantages. It works but that's what we did. That Lena Misty always had, we can't, they always together. And I think sometimes we may have said no for without any reason, but we still stick together. So that's something you can think about. And Rani being home, so she's participated in all the school activities, homeschool mom, all the trips that the kids went to, all sports activities. I mean, I was also involved, but she was the major one taking those initiatives. And then when we came here, we were a small family of 40 or 50. families in Atlanta, Sikh families, and our children were small. So that's something we started the Sikh camp, and that's something I will encourage everybody now that now family has grown. So we have a Sikh camp which is in Tennessee. It's almost 22 years ago we started it, and a lot of kids have benefited. But I think somebody else should start something here or someplace, because that camp fills up very quickly. And so those are the things. Sometimes we look up, oh, the community should do this for us, or the Gurdwara should do this stuff. But what is community or what is Gurdwara? We are. So if you see a need, please step in, and you get a lot of support from the community. And it is something that, you take a chance. Like we had a small camp in December, and there were 30 kids, and people come from everywhere to help you. So that's something you can, if you think something needs to be done, just step in, and there will be enough support from the community. Talking about the teach value of money, that was something also we told them, you can buy any toy you want, any gadget you want, but you got to put some money from your part of the money. So if you keep buying them everything, then I think they don't appreciate that much. Once they have put even in a $10 toy, if they put $2, I think they play them with that better. They take care of it better, and I think that also worked pretty good. And it's a two-way communication. You can't say, oh, because I say it, you have to listen to them. And sometimes you will be surprised. They may have a better, they may have a point of view which the angle you never thought from. And it is, even if they may be 10 years old, they have perspective from their side. And also I always kind of thought that, how was I when I was a teenager? What used to think? So sometimes when you become a parent, you think they should think like you, but no, they are still growing up. But you can think a little bit, what did I do when I was 15 or 16? How did I interact with my parents? And I used to say, yeah, my parents don't know anything, because at that time, so it's a part of a growing process. And now moving along, now on the tough part, the teenage years. Luckily, we didn't have that much problem. Everybody said, oh, you have 2 daughters, you must be having sleepless nights. But somehow, I think, with God's grace, I think we came out okay. But this is a really testing times for the parents, and especially if you haven't gone to college here or gone to school here, came from India, I think some things you can't really relate directly. And but the next line where we say keeping track of the circle of friends, that is something very, very important. You should know who are the friends your kids are with. And like when of course we were friends with people who they were going to sports activities or in the school activities. Then some people, like especially in our community, they are very afraid of sending their daughters to the prom. And you can't say, no, you cannot go to a prom, because that's parts of the whole culture there. And so what we did was that we invited all the kids and their parents to our house. And we did it 2 times with Lena. She had a junior year and senior, and then with Misty we did it again. Invited, let's say there are 20 kids. We said, okay, the limousines will come to our house, so all the kids and their parents will come to our house. They'll take the pictures and all, and then the kids will go to the prom, and the parents will stay back, and we will have our own prom, we'll have our own good time. And then the kids will come back and spend the night. Rani will make nice breakfast next day. And so I think we knew where our kids are, and we knew who their friends are. And sometimes, even now with them gone, those kids still come to our house, and so it's and sometimes it's interesting that kids may not talk to their parents about something, but once you open up that communication, they'll come to you for advice, and they feel more comfortable. And I think that's something you should seriously think about, that know the parents and the kids that your kids are with. And don't sweat the small stuff. Keep the arguments or the fights for bigger items. Little things, okay, Dad, can I pierce my ears? Okay, well, when you are 10 years old, you can do that. Then she comes back again, 50. Can I do one more? I said, all right. I knew that, and then they grow out of it. Those holes get closed, don't worry about that. So it is kind of, then the kids, if you keep saying no to everything, I can guarantee you they're going to do it. You will be the last one to find out. And if you have that communication that they can feel comfortable to talk to you, then you will even find out about other kids what's going on. And so I think that you got to pick your fights. Even in general life, that's true. Don't worry about little things. Even in day-to-day life, let's not worry about that, and keep focused and see. And the kids, I mean, they are smart. I mean, I think now, when they were growing up, I mean, they wanted cell phone, and Rani said, "Who you gonna call? All your friends are with you in the class." So, but now it has. I mean, the cell phones were just coming at that time, but it's becoming harder with all the internet stuff. I think we had a little bit easier. So you got to stay ahead of them. I don't know if it's possible, but you should try. You cannot just say, okay, we never had a TV in our bedrooms. Even now we don't have. We have one TV downstairs, one in the basement, but that's where we watch TV together. They did not have any computer in their rooms. So our computer room is also next to the kitchen, where it's open to see what's going on. So those are the things. It may not be practical in every case, but you should kind of keep track of what's going on. Then comes next, before 18, 17, now the search for colleges and profession. And that also is very important in the sense, see what their interests are. Don't say, okay, because I'm a doctor, then you should be, or if I couldn't be a doctor, then you should become a doctor, you should become an engineer. I think there are a lot of other professions. But if you pick the profession where you love it, then it doesn't feel like work. But you have to, see, you may not know exactly what their interest, and what you got to see. Don't force them into something that they may not be very happy. And so, let's say if we pick the colleges, here is something before I end the teenage years. This is a quote from Mark Twain. So he was saying, when I was 14-year-old, my father was so ignorant I could hardly stand to have the old man around. But when I got to be 21, I was astonished at how much he had learned in 7 years. So it's a cycle. You can see when the kid is 5, 6 years old, he says, "Oh, my parents, they are Superman, Superwoman. They can do anything." Then start to doubt it. No, they don't know everything, but by teenager, you don't know anything. They know everything. But then they come back, and then starting in 20, they say, "Yeah, I think they know." Then they say, "Dad, I want to buy a car. Can you help me? I want to." So I think, don't worry, a teenager that is, but they will come back. Now this is something, again, when you pick a college, whether to send them in-state, out of state. Yeah, if they get a scholarship and they want a particular profession, out of state is okay. But otherwise, in-state, I think we have very good education system here. You save a lot of money, and you can get into the honor programs, and so Georgia Tech, UGA, and Emory. So we have good schools. So there is no sense spending $200,000 sending a kid undergraduate to a university if he doesn't get scholarship. Our younger daughter, she got into George Washington University, and I said, okay, let's sit down, we talk. What is there at George Washington that you can't learn here? And she couldn't come up with it, so she went to University of Georgia. But then, as a graduate school, she went to George Washington. So it's, I think it's a decision that, I mean, taking loan or spending $200,000 on a undergraduate. But again, if you have the money and if you want it, that's your option. And both of our daughters, they went in the final year. They went to study abroad program. Lena went to Oxford for a semester. Misty, she went to Spain. And this is interesting. When she graduated, she came to us and she said, Dad, I think I want to go back to Spain to teach for 1 year over there. And most of our relatives, God, can you send a 22 years old girl over there? And we trusted her. She had 2 other friends. They went. They taught Spanish, English to Spanish people there. And she can speak fluent Punjabi, Spanish, and English. She came back, went to graduate school. She has a real good job in the federal government in Washington. So she majored in education or history. We didn't say you have to be a doctor or this. And I think she's happy. She's traveling all over the world. So I think sometimes kids know more what they want to do. You have to support them. And the final here, I think we have now, again, it's something similar. You go to graduate school. Now, we told them, it's like buying that toy where they had to share. We said, we'll help you, but you have to take a loan. Even though we thought after we will pay the loan off, but I think it gives them a little bit that they have something of their own involved. And then we said, yeah, now we want to save money for our retirement. And so I think those are the it's very hard to cover everything in 10-15 minutes. So we'll just have a summary and conclusion, and then I have a 3-minute video which maybe we need to turn the lights off, and I think you will enjoy that. That will kind of bring everything together. So it's tough love is a good thing. Don't think it's they will appreciate it when they grow up. We never physically hit them or anything, but I think they knew that it's dad and mom. They can't get away with something which they don't like. I think Lina I think she still remembers that. And it's like trust but verify. So you can't just leave them. I mean, you got to check. I mean, sometimes I'll look at their telephone bill and see where they're calling stuff. Now, I'm telling her now, she didn't know that. And see where they're going. So it's I think you can build a very good relation where if they know you are there to help them, and as parents, you don't actually, especially if you haven't gone here to school and college, I think the environment has changed a lot. I see in 40 years, even United States environment has changed a lot, and it's a dynamic thing. So you have to learn, and that's where I say grow with your children. It is a never-ending process. And finally, it is, some people say, oh, I'm friends with my kids. We believe, don't try to be your friends. They have friends. They want some good parents. And some people say, well, what would you do different? I think it's Guru's Kirpa, and I think I just lucked out. I had a wife who's kind of knew what she is doing, and I supported her. And so now I have a 3-minute video. If we can turn the lights out, I think there are a lot of numbers in it, but don't worry, there is not going to be any test. But just relax and enjoy that. And then I think if you have any questions, we can stay back. Lina is here, Rani is here. After Langar, if you have any questions, we'll love to share any ideas.